I have some sad news to report, and it's not quite as fresh. I've been putting off making this video for a little while, so I feel like I've kind of come to terms with it, but in the interest of transparency, here is a little garden update. When I first shared my planning thoughts, seed collection, I had it in my mind that I would share each month what the garden looks like, and I was hoping that that would show the difference from month to month and also act as like a virtual diary of sorts for myself as we hopefully get better, grow each year in our garden as we grow more and more. But that is not the case. This is a sad garden update. So quick story time. Backstory. We started from scratch with gardening this year. The only thing that we had going into this year were a handful of peony varieties over in our peony beds, and then before that, the only thing that was here were some apple trees that the previous owners had planted and left behind. So I had huge hopes for what this garden would look like. I know that it still can, and it will in the future, but I kind of went full on garden mode. We used all of the old floor, you can kind of see a little bit in the back, but all of the old floor trusses from the renovation, and we built raised beds. Our ground that we were working with just so compacted, and honestly, like, there's so much junk. Like in the area where I'm sitting right now, we've probably found the equivalent to like half of a car like worth of junk and parts and pieces. And while I would love to unearth and dig up all of those things, some of them are just like really hard to get up out of the ground. And so I would love to work on the soil more, but that just wasn't in the cards for this year. So we built these raised beds, brought in dirt from a well-known reputable company, and that's kind of when it all started going a little bit south. I started probably thousands of seeds this winter and really early spring, and this guy, Douglas, he and his sister started laying on our seed trays. And this was something that took me a few weeks to figure out. They weren't doing it when we were there, and this is in our back porch area. And then one day I just happened to come in as they were laying on them, and I think just the combination of the heat, the heat mats and the lights, and it was winter, they were just like, this is perfect, I want to lay here. So when I looked a little bit closer, pretty much all of my seed trays had like cat hair in them, and I had to restart a lot of seeds. That was speed bump number one. So I was like, that's fine. Okay, once I had exhausted all of the seeds that I could, I started everything that I had, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna restart, it's fine. So obviously starting back up with less, things grew, figured out a way to keep the cats out for the most part, but there were still times where they went in and would lay on things. But hardened things off, came out to transplant. When I transplanted things were dying really quickly, and I was starting to just really think like, I'm starting to think, okay, I probably just didn't do something right. I'm sure I just didn't harden them off long enough. I'm sure I went through all of these things in my head that I was like, this is totally my fault. And most of what I transplanted out from what I started back in the winter died. But I chalked it up to, that was user error, operator error, like first time gardener, not first time gardener, but first time flower grower, doesn't know what she's doing. And it's like, whatever, moving on. I'll just direct seed. I had a list of things that I was going to direct seed anyways. And I was like, that's fine. I'll get them again. We'll recover with the direct seeding. And I direct seeded everything. That I knew I didn't do it all at one time, but I was like following the schedule that I had planned out, waiting for rainy weather to come to like really water stuff in. Was feeling really good about direct seeding. And we're talking like direct seeding, like, I don't even know what to consider that. I don't want to say like the easy flowers, but like sunflowers, zinnias, cosmos, just like things that should be able to be direct seeded and you should be able to have success with, especially as someone who's like a new flower grower like I am. Those things weren't starting. They were not sprouting. So I chalked it up to cat 1, cat 2, and also our chickens. They had kind of been scratching around in here and I was like, oh my gosh, they probably just ate all of these seeds. This is ridiculous. So at this point, feeling pretty defeated, feeling like, hey, this is probably all my fault. We go to plant out my daughter's vegetables that she started for a homeschool project. She was so excited. We figured out spacing. We gave her, I originally was just going to give her one raised bed, and now she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little raised beds, and she was so excited about them, and her seedlings were looking great. Like, we had more than we needed, so we were sharing them with family members that needed some starts. And those, after a couple weeks, I noticed, I was like, this is so weird. Like, they're like the same size as when we planted them. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, they seem to be stunted. And I was like, you know what, now that I think about it, everything seems to be stunted. Most of my transplants, the things that I started inside that I moved outside, the ones that didn't die, which is probably like 25 total individual transplants, not types of flowers, they're not getting any taller. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're not dying, but they're not getting any taller. And I just don't know what's going on. And of course, like, social media is not helping when I'm like looking at other gardeners in my grow area, or like who are growing the same type of seed, and they're like, oh my gosh, we had one great rain and like, look at these popping off. These are just like, they shot up. And I still am like, wait a second, the veggies that we transplanted that were looking great stunted, and the seeds that we direct seeded, maybe half of them have sprouted, but they haven't gotten any taller. Like, what is going on? So we're like, maybe it really is just like the cats and the chickens getting into everything. So we put up a fence. I mean, you can't see the wire right now, but my husband spent a weekend putting up a fence around the everything. Still, like, not helping. Like, the fence isn't helping. Things aren't growing. They're not getting any bigger. So my husband's uncle was here when he was helping with the fence. I asked him to look at the garden. I was like, what is going on? And at this point, everything was really yellow, like especially all the vegetables. And he was like, I wonder if you have too much nitrogen in your soil, like in the soil delivery that you got. And he said that can tend to happen when, like, your plants can start to yellow when there's too much of something in your soil. And he's like, your soil might just be too hot, is the term that he used. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And so I've started looking more into what that looks like in a garden when your nitrogen levels are off. And sure enough, that's like all the signs of what we have here. So it makes me feel better knowing that not everything that went wrong was because of like user error or me not knowing what was going on or me not doing enough research ahead of time. And so I feel validated in that, but I am so bummed about like just this season. I imagined like at minimum just like fresh bouquets like all summer long for my house. Not even, I mean, the plan was to sell, to try and like make some extra money while we're waiting for Christmas trees and like outside of the wreath season. And also I tried to grow a lot of the florals that I was going to dry to use in our wreath classes. So like, I think I feel better knowing that this was mostly out of my control. I guess I could have asked for the soil test of that specific load of dirt, but I feel like landscape companies like this are working through loads of dirt so quickly that, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have been able to like test it myself before buying it, because by the time I got my results back, it would have just been like another round of dirt. But I am really bummed. I, again, imagined like just fresh bouquets in our house all summer. And I think the part that bums me out the most, and I haven't told her in detail what's like happened yet, but is that like my daughter's garden isn't going to be as fruitful as she is expecting or hoping. And I'll show you here in a second what everything looks like. And then at the end, I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. But just feels like a big loss. And yeah, I wish this wasn't the case. And farming, I mean, it feels silly saying farming like on such a small scale like this, but farming is so hard, and there's so many factors like weather and pests and wild animals and quality of the soil and weeds, and I just feel like there's a lot stacked against farmers. And so I'm really appreciative of farmers, especially the ones that are responsible for feeding people. And providing food seems like a pretty important thing compared to flowers, even though I could argue that flowers are really important too. But so here's probably the only tour I'm going to give for a few months, because I'll tell you what we're going to do about the garden after. And yeah, well, we'll see what month it is next that we do a tour. So here we go. So there's our house. This fenced in area is I don't even know why I was going to even pretend to try and estimate, but it's kind of like a rectangle. It's not a perfect rectangle, but this is where our big swing gate will be. And then we will have like a pedestrian gate there and a pedestrian gate over here. I was kind of toying around the idea about maybe using those as part of it, but I don't know. So we have, let me count how many beds we have. We have 22 raised beds in this garden right now, and we have a few more that we're gonna add, even though we're not gonna be growing anything in them right now, just to kind of finish off this section and make it look finished. And I think focus on the design and the organization of it all, now that we won't be focusing so much on harvesting and weeding. So here's a step back. This is a C-shaped bed with a rock raised bed, and then there's 2, 4, these 2, 4, 5 right here are my daughters, and then the rock bed behind that we have some more veggies growing in. And then kind of identical, I guess you can't be kind of identical, but And then over here we have same situation as what my daughter is using right now, where we have two smaller raised beds separated by a rock raised bed and then another rock raised bed on the end. And then we have 4 raised beds right here. And then this is where on the other side we have that C-shaped bed. But right here, we are going to either plant a willow tree or we're gonna put in a little garden pond, because as you can tell, it's muddy and it hasn't rained in a couple of days. So that just shows just how much water this takes up. So over here we have a bed of all zinnias. This was started off as something else, but then when it wasn't working, I put zinnias in here thinking foolproof, will be good. They have been at this size for a couple weeks now. So I don't foresee them really doing anything crazy. I foresee them staying this size. Over here we have some millet, which with a mix of weeds, but kind of in this straight line is where the millet is. And then I have bachelor's button and then another kind of bachelor's button. Yeah, this was something that I planted out in my first round of direct seeding. Those are weeds, but then nothing took, and so I did it again, and this is kind of what's made it, this little cluster right here. Over here, this was entirely a straw flower bed, but what I transplanted out, most of it ended up dying. Then I direct seeded some, but this is all that's left of what I transplanted out. There's a couple over there. So then once the straw flower didn't take, I was like, okay, probably did something wrong with that. Let me put sunflowers here. So these are Pro-Cut red sunflowers, but you can see, I mean, you can see that you can barely see, which says enough about that. This is also another zinnia bed mixed with some weeds. These ones look a little bit bigger than the other bed, but still nothing crazy, nothing exciting. This bed. This is my experimental bed. So this bed is all Zinderella peach. And at this point, I was wondering if I was in the wrong or if something else bigger was going on that I was still not quite sure what it could be, but wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. So in this bed behind me, the Zinderella peach zinnia bed, I planted an entire packet of Floret Zinderella peach zinnias, and then I walked over behind my shed and I planted an entire packet of Zinderella peach zinnia seeds, same day. And I was like, you know what, let's just see what happens. And I watered them the same. I would take the hose over here and then I would take the hose all the way over there. And I was like, I'm gonna true to high school or middle school science class, make this as accurate as an experiment as possible. And let me show you what I discovered. Wouldn't you know it? These Zinderella peach zinnias planted on the same exact day, cared for in the same way. I mean, you could see these are short, but we have flowers. We have flowers. So once these got to be bigger than the others and really took off, that's when I was like, okay, something's wrong here. Something is wrong. Oh, something happened with that one. Probably a cat. This rock bed is full of Sparky sunflowers that didn't actually sprout that I feel like that's just grass poking through. So nothing happened there. So far, all the beds that I've showed you are beds that had the original dirt in them in my original dirt delivery. Okay, the Cosmos I have planted and replanted 2 or 3 times. They're looking okay. Probably need to pinch some of these, but I mean, there's my dog, months of growth, like literally months. This raised rock bed, I did not start this from seed. I bought them from a local nursery. This old man, him and his wife, every year just sell plants, and he has a lot of native stuff. So I got some yarrow from him and put them in this bed. And then I also actually dug up yarrow from my front field and I put it in this bed just because I wanted to have it all in the same spot. Like, still thinking, oh yeah, I'll still be getting bouquets. I need to actually like string these up. I'll still be getting bouquets. Like, let me put it all in one place. Anyways, that seems to be doing fine-ish. Over here in my daughter's garden, we have one wildly successful zucchini plant, which I do not understand, but had an identical one, started at the same time, looked the same when we transplanted it. That was right there that the chickens dug up. And then these are the size that they were when we transplanted them. These ones are 2 yellow squash. And so it's crazy. Things are like flowering even when they're this size, but obviously they're like not ready for a fruit on them, a squash. So this one, because we don't have anything else to pollinate it, to like cross-pollinate the flowers or whatever, I doubt we will get any zucchini on it. But I don't have the heart to tell my daughter because it just looks so exciting to her. We have some celosia that my neighbor started, and this is about the size it was when we transplanted it like a month ago now. My daughter's craft to attract pollinators. We have cucumbers that have like kind of started leafing out, but really are not. I mean, this one's doing the most, but like, look at all those flowers, but it's not gonna climb up to like be able to support all of that and make room for all of that. So same thing over here, some pickling cucumbers. That one over there is a slicing cucumber. And my daughter's tomato plants, we have honey drop, which our neighbor, really talented gardener, started and gave to us. This is a cherry tomato. What else do we have? I don't know why I wrote medium tomato and not the type, but medium tomato. And then these 3 are Roma tomatoes. And then we have the green beans, which, I mean, they have, like, some of them have a random green bean on them. I'll leave that for my daughter to pick, but hopefully it doesn't get eaten in the middle of the night. But they're not climbing. They're like not getting any taller. So these ones have actually kind of greened up a little bit, but beans love nitrogen. So snap peas that died off after we transplanted them, but then still gave us like a snap pea, which was kind of funny. My daughter was very excited. This dirt is different dirt. Got this from a different place. It was extra from our landscaping that we did around the house. So I planted some winter butternut squash in here just to kind of see. I've never grown butternut squash before. And these sprouted in like 3 days. I also at one point bought jalapenos from Lowe's because I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let's buy starts from somewhere. And I got these from Lowe's. These were the size that they were when we bought them, the plants. So you can see that they have jalapenos growing on them, but I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with those guys. This dirt was in our original dirt order. These are carrots. And let's see, can kind of see some of the sprouts, but they've looked like that for weeks. So they haven't died, but they're definitely not thriving. They're surviving, not thriving. If I have to, I'm gonna title this video Surviving, Not Thriving. Okay, basil. This, we did start from seed, not this specific. We did start a basil from seed and the cats killed it. So to boost our self-esteem, we bought some and bought herbs. So we've got, let's see, we've got thyme, we've got both lemon thyme and English thyme. We have parsley, dill, Thai basil, and then some sweet basil. And this is really starting to kind of yellow. So this is in that original soil. I know that this is bolting, but I don't care. I'm over the garden. We've got cilantro, sage, we've got mint and rosemary, lots of weeds, dealing with that. Okay, this side. This bed has been so many things. I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I'm sure if I went back and looked at my notebook, I could tell you what it was at the beginning. But right now, it is like 1, 2, 3, 4 corn cockle plants. Oh, another kind of corn cockle. This shot up in like the last 2 days. So this whole thing was planted out with different kinds of corn cockle. And this is what I have left. So I was like, okay, we'll move something else to this bed. Let's put celosia in here. And let me see if I can find a little celosia seedling to show you. I don't even know if I can. This over here is, I don't even know what my thing is anymore. My code. Benary's giant something zinnia. And those are really small. I've got China Aster, which didn't end up taking off, pennycress, and then another type of pennycress, which out of all of the seeds that I started, these were like the only ones that survived the cats. So I'm actually gonna cut all these and see what they look like dried. Just kind of experiment, because what do I have to lose? I also don't really have any flowers to put them with, so. Oh, just kidding. Snapdragons. I was also able to grow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, like 10 snapdragons. I'm sorry if at this point I'm sounding sarcastic, but I'm coping. So I already clipped 3 of these. The wind, I had a terrible wind and rainstorm the other day, which knocked this one over, but got that. These were extra tomatoes that we had, and okra for wreaths. Okra has stayed the same size for months. This is what it looked like when I transplanted it out like a month ago. Then over here, what do we have? We had a bunch of amaranth in this bed. But it's not gonna get much bigger than that. Originally in this bed, I had calendula, which I was so excited to use for making a salve and for drying for wreaths, but this is the only one that survived. Over here, I put some gomphrena in this bed. This was actually different dirt. And then I put it in there. We had a terrible rainstorm and it flooded. Like, a lot of the beds flooded. So I don't think any of the seeds stayed in. And then I have different delphiniums here that I bought as distressed plants. And kind of bought them as trying to make myself feel better, to have something pretty to look at. So that's what we've got. And then I've got a few empty beds that need to be filled. I just feel like I have to show you proof that I can grow things, because right now it feels like I can't. But all the peonies are looking great. They're looking fantastic. They had a great year. I debudded all of them, but they had a great year. I say that as I walk past an apple tree that has since died in being in my care. But so what is our plan moving forward? We are going to top dress everything, all of the beds with that soil from that first delivery with mulch. I called the company we got the dirt from and spoke with somebody to submit a complaint formally, and she told me to pass along my complaint to her manager, gave me the email that I should send it to, and it took me a while to send the email, if I'm being completely honest, for a couple of reasons. Because I knew I wanted it to be really thorough, and also because I was still not certain that I was the one. I was still not sure if it was my fault or not. So I really hesitated on sending it, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna trust my gut and go for it. And so I did that. I just walked through the house to get outside when I could have just walked outside. Anyways, I should have just trusted my gut. But I was really proud of my email. It was very long. I would be surprised if the person I sent it to read it all. But I sent in pictures, and I took photo comparisons and sent in old pictures, and I sent her all the information about those 2 zinnia plots where I planted the same thing at the same time. And I got a call pretty quickly back, actually. And the woman was so kind. And in my email I said, at minimum, what I'm requesting is a complete refund for the dirt, and also a complimentary load of mulch. Because in my mind, I'm like, I spent thousands of dollars in seed and supplies getting this garden ready, and then on top of that, purchase soil, and now I need to pay again to fix it. So it just felt like those are the 2 things that I wanted. And I was like, I could go into detail in my email about, I could send her all the receipts for all the seeds and everything, and calculate time that we spent, and give a value to the time if I really wanted to get crazy about it. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask for these 2 things. I feel like that won't be that hard to argue for. And not that I wanted to argue, but that's kind of what I was going into the phone conversation with her. And she was like, so you want dirt or you want mulch? I was like, both. And she said, so dirt. And I said, no, both. And she was like, so mulch. And I said, no, I want both of those things for free. I want my dirt that you gave to me refunded, and I want to deliver a load of mulch. And she was like, I don't think we can do that. I think we can do one or the other. And I said, well, then let me know who else I can call. I'm happy to talk to somebody else. And she was like, okay, hold on, I'll call you right back. So then she calls me back, and she was like, we can do a discount on the mulch. And I said, and free delivery? And she was like, I don't know about free delivery. And I was like, I live 12 minutes from your spot. I would also like free delivery. So I got the dirt refunded and ordered an entire load of mulch at almost half off. So I think at the end of it all, I got back $300 after all was said and done, which isn't even a drop in the bucket, but it's a win for now. And it's what the situation is. Okay, let's end on a cute note. We have a nest of baby birds, in one of our hanging ferns on the front porch. And while I was out here filming, the mama just flew away for a minute. So let's take a peek. Also, what if the mom is still in here and she just flew out?